Hey, Stonewall with Raised by Sharks here. Today we're going to be bringing you a video on the review for the frames per second on the base PS4 for Monster Hunter World. On Reddit, we've been seeing a lot of stuff complaining about the frame rates, but I think a lot of people are just misinformed as to what the frame rates do. They're probably just confusing it with hit lag, or their PS4s are running hot, or just general lag when they're playing online. Because as for the regular frames per second, it hasn't dipped too much between the dozens and dozens of hours that we have of gameplay and footage. I haven't had any issues with it. So we're going to start off explaining how frame rates work. Frame rates work because every second your screen refreshes the pixels X amount of times. Now, if I'm stationary, like this, even though there's stuff moving on the screen, the amount of FPS required per second is a lot lower for it to look nice. So if my frames dropped to about 25 here, I would barely notice it. But if I were running around in a high action screen with, like, Anjanath running around, or a bunch of little Jaggers running around by my feet, and there's 4 Hunters, the FPS would need to be closer to 30 for me to not really notice any dips. In the beta, not even in the full game where it's supposed to be optimized more, even just in the beta, it doesn't really dip as much as people claim it does, so you don't need a PS4 Pro for it to look nice. Also, again, with the way that FPS works, is that it's really more beneficial for fast-moving objects. So let's say back in the day, Sergios would whip across your screen really quick, or Nargacuga would whip across your screen really quick. That's where you would need FPS to see that quick action go across, and it would look prettier. But at the end of the day, it's like he's running across the screen in a tenth of a second. It's not the end of the world if it's not the prettiest jump across your screen. That being said, the higher FPS would, in fact, make that look nicer. That's where it would make the biggest difference, is the quick moving objects like that. In Monster Hunter World, I will say from my experience with the beta, the FPS isn't as required as it is in certain other games like first-person shooters or, really high-pace action games, because even though I would consider this a higher-pace action games, it's because there's more strategy going on every second of the hunt. But in terms of what the monster is doing every individual second, it's really not that intensive. Like, for instance, if I were hunting Anjanath right now, he is moving around, but he's not moving around so rapidly that below 40 FPS I'm going to be like, oh my god, this looks gross. At 25 frames per second or lower, you will start to notice on a standard TV, which has 60 Hz a second, that you will actually be able to spot out the actual frames on your screen if it drops below 25 if you have very good eyesight. That hasn't happened to me even a single time during the beta. As you can see, I'm running around right now on the base PS4, and you're not noticing anything, even though there's multiple things going around on the screen. I understand I'm not online and I'm not in a hunt, but this is just to show you what the graphics look like. Online, it will dip a little bit, but again, that'll be offset by the fact that the full game, confirmed by the French gamer that has played the game early, the frames per second has been optimized for the full game. I believe he was playing on the Pro, but the developers said that they were optimizing it for both, so if it's optimized a little better for the PS4 Pro, there's no reason to not believe that it wouldn't be optimized better for this. I can't see them not having, if not a locked 30 frames per second, but at least close to it. In the beta, it did bounce around somewhere between 25 and 30-ish. It didn't drop below 25, but the PS4 Pro should be getting around 44-ish frames per second on average from what I've read online. It can range between 40 and 50, whereas the Xbox One X is a little bit stronger. A lot of people that have the Xbox One X are weirdly trying to say that it's going to be like almost a locked 60, where the PS4 Pro is at 40. That's a myth. It's a little bit stronger. The PS4 Pro will range between 40 and 50, whereas the Xbox One X will range between about 45 and 53, 54-ish, with no action. If there's a little bit of action, they'll probably be similar, PS4 Pro might drop maybe like an extra frame or two, but not enough that you would notice it. Again, especially because Monster Hunter World, like as you can see here, I'm hunting Pukei Pukei. He's not moving around all that fast that I would need like a PC build where it's like 150 FPS. Would it look nicer? Slightly? Maybe like less than 1% nicer, because every move that he's doing right now is being tracked properly by the FPS and being shown properly by the FPS given. I'm not missing anything. There's no tenth of a frame that I'm missing because of the lower FPS. There's no FPS drops as I'm hunting him. You can see there was birds off in the distance, stuff going on in the background. I'm by the water. People have been saying that the water areas have FPS drops. Nothing here. Overall, I would say the base PS4 is perfectly fine for the FPS. Well, you would want the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X, or wait for the PC if you're really one of those hardcore gamers that absolutely needs maximized FPS, maximized graphics. You don't need it. I played for the Raised by Sharks channel plenty and have a ton of recorded footage if you look through our channel, and I guarantee if you go through our whole channel you will not find more than one spot where the frames drop, if you can even find one. So I just wanted to put that to rest, because a lot of people have been making false claims and throwing it around when really they're just confusing it for, again, hit lag. Like this, if I show you on the cluster bomb, if I can get it to land on him here, every hit you're going to see a little bit of hit stop, like that. That's not frame rate drop, that's hit stop. That's intentional to give it the effect that your attack is doing more of an impact. And then people are confusing it with actual lag. So again, the frame rates and the graphics overall, along with the audio is absolutely stunning. For the base PS4 is perfectly acceptable. You don't need to splurge on a PS4 Pro unless you absolutely want the graphics upgrade, because there are differences in the actual graphics and the textures and stuff going to the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Those make a much bigger difference in my opinion than the actual frames per second. That's all we got for you tonight on Raised by Sharks. Thanks for watching.